Hey, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Spirit. Today is an exciting episode because I am drinking a Campbeltown thing, but also my good friend Thomas over here is joining me for the first ever Sunday Spirit collab review.
Which is actually, if you think about it, I've been working in a bottle shop for like 3 years now. We've had so many opportunities to do this, and
yes,
there you go.
And this is the first time. So
yeah.
So yes, how are you doing, Thomas?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a chill, relaxed, but very hot Sunday for me. It's summer's hitting. I think it's cooled down a little bit with a little bit of rain just now, but I'm fine. And how are you?
I'm doing all right. It is not even 8:30 in the morning here, so we are doing this on Thomas time today.
Yeah.
So we'll see how today goes. I got stuff to do today. Well, mostly just cleaning up around here. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna open my bottle and pour it, and then
I'll pour my because I'm actually quite lucky because before people go like, what the hell is that? Because I work in a bottle shop, I actually have the chances of bringing home samples of things. We did make sure, this is, by the way, probably helpful to tell people, because it's a blended malt, they come in batches, and we did make sure we both have basically the same batch.
Yes.
Yeah.
2023.
2023.
We'll get more into that in a moment.
Yes, we will. Oh, glass buddies.
Yeah, always.
Nice. That's nice.
I always like to grab them when I see them because
they're good glasses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact! This one I actually got from Scotland in 2006 from the Speyside Whisky Festival.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So, more about the whiskey that we are drinking today. This is Campbeltown Loch. It is a blended malt Scotch whiskey, which I didn't know even existed until I saw this bottle. So it's 100% Scotch whiskeys. It is 46% alcohol by volume. It is from Springbank Distillery. And this blended malt Scotch whiskey has been created solely from Campbeltown's 5 distinctive single malts. 100% Campbeltown whiskeys blended and bottled by Springbank Distillers, Campbeltown, Scotland.
Yeah.
And
that's the fun part of it, because this is one of the reasons that we talked about it. We're both big Springbank fans, and
yes.
I always think it's weird that people skip this particular whiskey, because a huge portion of what's in there is Springbank, or one of the other named, shall we say, Springbanks from the same distillery, but like peated or heavily peated versions, like Longrow and Kilkerran, exactly. So I always think it's a bit of a pity that people skip this. I mean, if you look at the bottle, it's literally the Springbank bottle. It has the Springbank embossing in it and everything.
Yep.
So it's a big portion of this is from Springbank. Just a fun fact, we can do this in the review if you like, but I have a little bit of the 22 batch, which we can get into a little bit later, but yeah.
Well, you can if you want to.
No, but the reason why I brought a little bit of it is there is a difference between both batches, and that's a fun thing to mention in a little bit. But yeah, I like the color.
I forgot to put my light on, so
that's okay.
I don't have a light to hold it up to. But yeah, that's a nice copperish honey color.
Yeah,
right?
I would almost, if this had been standing in a beer glass for a while, I would have guessed almost like an amber ale, almost like that sort of color. It's got nice legs. It's got good legs. And I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of. I know a lot of people are very obsessed with cask strength whiskeys or batch strength or what's the term they usually use with bourbons? Barrel proof.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I understand that in a way it's whiskey at its purest, but it doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best ABV. And of course, this differs with all the kinds of whiskeys we have out there. And there's no perfect ABV, but I always find that 46 to 48 is one that I enjoy the most. It's got a little bit more punch to it, a little bit more body, a little bit more oomph, but it doesn't get that like alcohol bitterness in the finish. So I think for a 46, it gives a nice body. It's got good legs and just creates a little bit more.
I think most of the Springbanks are 46 or right around there.
Yeah, I believe so.
Strength.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's goes without saying. But if I remember correctly, they're all 46.
Yeah.
Do
you want to get a nose?
Yes.
Smells like Springbank. There's a little bit more of a just thinking about other Springbanks I've had.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit more earthy than I remember, but also I did just open this bottle, so
give that a bit of time. That helps because we did open a new bottle. We had to make some samples. We sell the samples as well, so that was a great opportunity for me. So we opened a new bottle as well. So basically, we both have fresh bottles, no oxidation from standing for a while. That's a good point. I always, like you said, it's got that slight earthy. It is in no way let's name them Ardbeg, Lafroy, Lagavulin types of peat, but it does have that sort of campfire, a little bit of leather tobacco note in it, which I assume is mostly from the peated Springbanks, like the Kilkerrans and Longrow. I'm not sure do you know if Glen Scotia ever did anything peated? I don't think so, right?
I don't know. I think some of their stuff is because I had the Victoriana the other day, and I believe that does have.
You're right.
A peatiness to it. I haven't had any other Glen Scotia in a while, so.
I always like that Springbank. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was about to say I always like that because you were talking about the nose. It has that, not just Springbank, but that very clear Campbeltown, sort of like almost olive oil, sort of like briny thing to it, which a lot of those Campbeltown whiskeys have. And I always find that pick that up in every bottle of Campbeltown Loch I've had. And
there's kind of like it reminds me of like candied citrus, but it's not that sweet.
I get that.
It's like an unsweet candied citrus, if that makes any sense.
It has sort of like an orange vibe to it. That I'm assuming, and that's something that's why I picked up a little bit of that 22. The 23 batch, if you put them side by side, especially we'll see in the bottles, the 23 batch is more sherried. So it's in no way a sherry bomb, but it does have like that dried fruit, spicy component in it, a little bit of a nuttiness. And I wonder if I am going to do it just for shits and giggles. If we pour them both out and put them side by side, if you can really pick up that difference in
that one
color.
Is that one slightly lighter?
The 22 is slightly lighter. It's hard to pick up on camera, but it's definitely a little bit lighter in color.
Yeah.
Now, please take note. This was like the last drops of that bottle, so it's not going to be that potent. But it, oddly enough, this one definitely has more of that sherry character in it. And I'm going to put this aside for a little bit of fun for me later to compare. But the 22 batch, oddly enough, has more of that Springbank brininess to it, that olive oil thingy.
That's so fun fact. I don't know if I've ever told this story specifically, but the way I got into Springbank and Campbeltown whiskeys, whatever, was like 2015. I went to this there's this like pub in Denver, Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like the world's. It might be. I think it's the United States' largest selection of whiskeys, but it's like the second largest in the world or something like that. And they do a whiskeys flight where
Nice.
you get a sample from all the regions, and Springbank 10 was the one from Campbeltown, and I fucking loved it. and it's been a mission of mine ever since. And it kind of sucks that it got popular like in the last like few years, because now I can't find it as readily. Like I literally just find these bottles randomly. So.
The amount of Campbeltown Loch that's out there is a lot. Of course, because it is a blended malt, it can produce more. The problem with Springbank, of course, is the quantity. It's a very small distillery. There's not a lot of it, so allocations are low, and it's very difficult to pick up. Because I don't know for you guys, but a bottle of 10, I believe, is around €70. So it's very reasonably priced when you think about it.
It used to be, when I first started grabbing it, it was like $70.
Yeah.
70, 80 maybe. It's $100 for Springbank 10 now.
Well, considering the fact that even though, of course, the UK, Scotland isn't part of the EU anymore, it's a little bit more easy for us in Europe and the Netherlands to get. I never mentioned that. I'm from the Netherlands, so it's a little bit easier to transport and the taxes and everything than it would be for the United States. So of course, it's going to be a little bit more expensive for you guys than it's for us. But I find the comparison like between, I think we talked about it, this Campbeltown Loch is about €50 for me, and it was about 70, I think you said, for you.
Yeah, it was like $68, I think.
Yeah, so I think that's quite normal in this instance.
Yeah. So
no,
do you want to taste it now?
Yes.
All right.
Sláinte. You can tell that this is a fresh bottle. I don't know if you have the same thing, but it's quite drier than I expected. And I remembered from the last time I had a full bottle, but it also still has a little bit of heat to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've noticed this recently, because like when I do these Sunday Spirit reviews, I usually, unless it's like a bottle that I've had for a while and I want to review it, I open new bottles on camera.
Of course. Yeah.
And when I go back to things, like new bottles tend to be, and I don't know if this is a thing or if it's just me or whatever, but newly opened bottles tend to be a little more bitter.
I get exactly what you mean. And I wonder if that has to do with the alcohol heat, because I don't know if you have that. We just talked about the cask strength thing. I often find that too high of an ABV, too much alcohol, leaves a bitterness. And I mentioned a little bit heat, like the alcohol heat, and you mentioned the bitterness. And the moment you start talking about it, I get it. The bit that
it's oaky.
It's definitely oaky. That again, that what we talked about, that slight peat note, which is still not the Islay, what everybody assumes with Islay whiskeys, of course. It's not that intense, but it's got this wonderful earthy, smoky campfire thing, which goes much more towards, again, that tobacco sort of thing. And I'm not talking about a cigarette. I'm talking like if you have real good cigars or pipe tobacco, like that proper spicy tobacco, rich, full aroma. I will say I find the mouthfeel, I don't know, I had expected maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a little, it's, there's not as much of that, like citrus oil kind of thing. It's in there, but it's not as big as some of the other ones I've had from Springbank. Which it's a blend, which it could go either way. Either that oily citrus thing could get bigger with blended, or it could get more diluted. But
it all depends on it all depends on what they have to make the new batches, of course, and that's what I always find interesting when it comes to blended malts that are released regularly, but also, of course, will vary a little bit in terms of batches. In terms of, because we went to things like mouthfeel and finish straight away, in terms of actual palate, oddly enough, it's compared to the what you just mentioned, that citrus, especially that sort of candied orange thing. It goes more towards like. Do you know what I mean when I say that orange peel thing that you get in some good old-fashioned IPAs? That sort of bitterness, that sort of thing. It's less candied and more towards that bitter spectrum again.
Yeah, like pithy.
Pithy, good. Yes, that's the word. Thank you.
Yes, definitely is that. And I don't really get it as like a solid note. It kind of like comes and goes, but I am getting like a kind of like I don't think there's any rye in this, but I am getting like a rye / like baking spice kind of thing.
I know what you mean, especially since the first thing I noticed when I took a sip, it had that same drying component that I get from rye, pretty dry. Now, I wouldn't be, because this batch is apparently a little bit more sherried. I wouldn't be surprised if that spices character came from some sherry casks, and I have no idea how much was used. I don't know which types of sherry. 9 out of 10 times it'll be Oloroso or PX. They're doing a lot of... Sorry?
No, keep talking. Because I can't remember, because I was looking it up the other day, and I can't remember if they have the... I'm looking at Springbank's website because they have the... Where is it? Oh, do they not have this one on here? Oh, they don't have this one on here.
While you're looking that up... you have it?
I was thinking about the... I was remembering when I looked up the local barley one. Not to name drop.
That's a nice bottling as well.
It was very nice.
I'm very curious what's going to happen, because you, of course, just opened your bottle, and my little sample is, of course, now halfway filled with air.
Yeah.
So that slight oxidation thing is going to go a lot faster. It'll be fun for me to try this again in like a week and see if some of these, especially that sort of bitterness, if that has died off a little bit. Because I remember the last time that I had this, which I, again, by the way, must point out was a 22 batch.
Yeah.
It was a lot less of that spices. It was a lot more that oily Springbank character. It had a lot more of that brininess. The intensity of that smoky peaty thing wasn't more, but I guess because it's less sherried, it felt a little bit more forward that way. Not to say that I don't like this. I actually still really, because I have to, by the way, point that out, I very much enjoy this whiskey.
Yeah.
Which I think is for the people that want to drink Springbank, have Springbank, but don't want to finish their Springbank too quickly because they want to savor it a little bit longer. This is a great alternative to get that sort of similar but different flavor profile for quite a good, bang for your buck.
Yeah, and at least where I tend to pick up these bottles, the one liquor store that I go to, this is like $30 cheaper than Springbank 10. So it's also a little more. It's also a little more economical, or
Exactly.
economical.
No, I know exactly what you mean, and because it's more readily available, if you kill a bottle, you know that it's not going to be that difficult to find another one. Shouldn't be too difficult. Let me put it that way. But no, for me personally, I still think that the Campbeltown Loch is one of my, especially in the price bracket of like, let's say under 70. Let's say under 75, and for me, I'm gonna say under 50 because basically it's $49.95. I'm gonna say under 50. I think this is one of the best things you can find if you're into your a little bit more robust, slightly more earthy single malts. Or malt whiskey because it's blended, but if you're in, because people tend to forget about the good blends and the good blended malts. I think this is good stuff.
Yeah. Also, it gives you, like, it's not exactly, like, I think Springbank 10 might be one of my favorite Springbanks. Well, I did have that local barley one, and that one was really good. And I haven't had Springbank 10 in a while, so maybe I'll try those two side by side to see which one I like more. But this gives you everything that maybe not in the exact ratios that you typically expect from like a single malt non-blended whiskey from Springbank. But you get that brininess that I like. You get that and you get the that citrus oily thing that I like. And then obviously the other things that come with Springbank. But those two things are the things I like specifically.
I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Maybe I brought a sample, but maybe I'll just get a bottle. I have a week off, so I can't get a bottle. I could go to work, but I should probably pick up a bottle again because that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a great idea to do this little video together.
Yeah, I think so too. We should maybe, if you do pick up a bottle or have some of your sample left, we should re-review this in like 6 months.
I can always get another sample, and by then the bottle at the shop will be a little bit more empty. So it'll have that same sort of. We mentioned that maybe some people are going to go like, "What the hell are they talking about?" So if you have whiskey, of course, can't go bad. It doesn't age or mature in a bottle, but if you have too much air left in your bottle, so especially if you have like half a bottle left or less, and you don't drink this specific whiskey a lot, it's probably best to pour it in a smaller bottle so you have less air trapped in there because it's going to oxidate a little bit and it's going to affect the flavor profile, the intensity, the impact of what you're drinking. And as you just mentioned, that doesn't necessarily have to be negative. We talked about this in some of our beer reviews as well. Sometimes you open, especially the stouts and the barley wines, you open it and everything is very potent and intense. You're like, let's put that away. I often do that in the reviews. I'll do 4 in a row. The last one will be like one of the big beers, and I'm like, nice. This can now breathe for a little bit. In a couple of hours, I'll get back to it. And you find a completely different beer that's much more accessible and more nuanced, and that will happen with your whiskeys as well. But be aware that if you have 100 open bottles and over half of those are less than half full, you might want to invest in buying, go into like apothecary. Is apothecary the right word? Drugstore, whatever.
Yeah, apothecary is
yeah.
We have those.
They probably often have like small bottles that you can pick up that are have very tight seals, and just buy some of those. Get some handwritten labels so you can put on the label what's in there, and pour those whiskeys in smaller bottles because it will be more beneficial to be it your Scotch, your bourbon, your rye, your rum, whatever it is, basically any distilled product that you have that you don't want to drink too often. Just a little life hack with Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically oxidizes. Is what the I think people don't like using that word because I think most things that are oxidized are seen as a negative, which I think in most cases things that are oxidized are not good. But with this kind of stuff, it's the secret sauce, secret ingredient.
Yeah, it can definitely improve. Which, by the way, if we do tastings in the shop, we often organize tastings. We often, before we start, we will tell the people who are there, don't finish your whiskey straight away, the first one. Leave some in the glass, especially if you're drinking several things from one distillery. But it's always nice, even if it's not from the same distillery, it's like different independent bottlings. It's nice after like 2 or 3 whiskeys after like maybe 45 minutes, go back to the first one. And you'll suddenly notice that the nose has changed a little bit. Things might have mellowed down. Things start opening up a little bit. So it's definitely a good idea. This is why I'm not finishing the glass. I'm going to put it away and get back to it in a little while.
Yeah. That was the other thing about the that flight at that pub. So what? There's 5 regions in Scotland.
6 if you want to be, but for a lot of people, the islands are counted into the Highlands these days.
Well, whatever it was, there were 5 or 6 whiskeys in the flight, but they also gave you a little, and they were all in Glencairns, and they also gave you a little Glencairn of spring water with a little straw.
Yes,
and you would taste them, and then you would add a couple drops of spring water, taste it again. You do and I don't think I've ever done it since then, but I want to say that adding a little bit of that spring water to the Springbank was kind of what made me like, I don't know, because it's really that's the only one that I remember of that flight. I don't remember what any of the other ones were.
No, but you're completely right. You're completely right. We do this with tastings as well. We always put water down. Yeah, we use the little what's the word? Pipette, dropper.
Dropper. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but you can do it with a straw. You can do, but just adding like even with a 40% whiskey, people will say, no, that's way too low of an ABV to add water to. You will always change the chemistry of what's in your glass, and you will open it up. It doesn't necessarily always mean it's going to be better, but 9 out of 10 times, especially when you start going towards the 46, 48 and higher percent ABV whiskeys, adding those 1, 2, 3 drops of water is going to do a lot to the nose and the flavor profile. And in some cask strength whiskeys, I've added 10 to 12 drops of whiskey just to get it to a point where I'm saying, okay, maybe from the cask is the purest, but right now, to my personal preference, it's the best.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more thoughts? I'm going to take one more sip.
Same, and I'm going to put it away. I have no more thoughts, except to add that I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a great day. It's a great way for you to start your day.
Yeah. I'm still too tired. I'm still tired, so it's not quite hitting me yet. I just feel tired.
That's good.
Yeah.
We'll talk in an hour.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining me, Thomas. This was exciting and new and exciting
for me as well.
So thanks for hanging out. Hope you're doing well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. You like this video, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at 93lumber. And then you should, well, first, I'm messing up. I started talking and then I went into my thing. Go check out Thomas. I'm assuming, I assume that anybody who watches my videos already follows all of the people that I know. So
most of the time, yeah.
But if you don't, go subscribe and follow Thomas, and then learn Dutch so you can understand what he's saying. And then
Yeah, I always tell myself that I should do more English reviews. I do English reviews, I really do. And I always tell myself I'm going to do at least one English review every 2 weeks, and then I forget. But there's some English stuff coming up, so
okay, cool.
It'll be yeah.
And then we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, Thomas.
Oh, I need to quickly cheers.